guys, it's Gwen, and today I'm making a party dress. And not just any party dress, an over-the-top, bright red, big skirt, ruffly party dress, like a pop star party dress. If that pop star were also an animatronic, possessed by the soul of a child. Well, that went weirdly sideways. But yes, I'm making a costume for Circus Baby from Five Nights at Freddy's, and I honestly couldn't be more excited, so let's just get started.
First, I bought this dress online. I picked it for the color, the length, and the amazing amount of extra fabric in these sleeves. Actually, I bought two, on purpose. I'll explain later. Let's get to work. The first thing my party dress needed was some magnificent shoulder ruffles. I started by doing my favorite thing, ripping the dress apart. Okay, just the sleeves, and in a very careful, respectful kind of way, but it still counts. And yes, there is a purpose to wearing the freshly detached sleeve like a weird scarf. I'm bad at not losing things, guys. I undid every seam on the sleeve except the hem. Next, I woke up my cat, Mr. Meow, so that he could remind us all to stretch. I measured how long I wanted my shoulder ruffles to be and cut both sleeves down to match. Then I rediscovered the first and second laws of feline dynamics. A cat at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by an outside force, and a cat in motion will remain in motion until it determines the absolute least convenient place to come to a rest. Least convenient. I mean, don't worry, he has to get up eventually. I pinned and hemmed all the raw edges of my ruffle, and then, since I was already at my sewing machine, I decided it was a good time to rehem the armholes of the dress as well. By the way, I looked to see if there was a technical term for armhole, and I can't find one, but it's a weird word to me, so I'm gonna make up something better. When I finished rehemming the thrudle boodle, I hand-stitched across the top of my ruffle to gather it as tightly and dramatically as I could. When I was finished, it made a fine maid's hat and a magnificent beard. Ooh. Circus Baby doesn't have either of those things, but I liked them so much I made a second ruffle so I could have a taller hat and a matching mustache for my beard. Then I pinned these two fine ruffles to the shoulders of my dress, about a thumb width from the edge of the thrudle boodles, and hand-stitched them down. To make it secure and orderly, each fold got its own stitch. After you've been working for a while, don't forget to rest your eyes by looking up and watching your husband practice a popular internet dance across the room.
You are getting better at it. It just still looks it's a silly dance. I don't think people usually hunch their shoulders, but you like bring your shoulders up to your ears every time you do it, so it looks even sillier. If anyone of the three of us is gonna learn how to do it, it would be you.
Try.
Anyway, at the end, my ruffles looked like this. I made a longer, more excellent beard. The next thing my party dress needed was a skirt, and you might think it already had one, but why have one when you can have two? So I carefully and respectfully ripped the skirt off the second dress I bought. The rest of that dress? I have plans for that too, but in the meantime, it can just wait over there. This is probably how I lose things. I also ripped the skirt off the first dress, but I left it connected at the zipper. I folded that skirt in half to find the exact middle, pinned it so that I wouldn't lose the middle, and cut it open. I popped the other skirt in between those two halves like a skirt sandwich, but nothing like a sandwich. Basically, I made the skirt twice as wide, and I cut it where I did because I don't like having an awkward seam straight down the front. After I sewed the skirt together, I had a very large no-topping pizza, which... Yes, Mr. Meows, it is too big, and we should fix that. I checked how much thread I had left because I was about to pull a magic trick that might unravel time, space, and the very fabric of the universe if I ran out. Just kidding. I was sewing a gather seam around the top of the skirt, and it's harder if I can't do it on one thread. Oh no. This is all I had left. I pulled on the thread ends from both sides to bunch up the skirt until it matched the bodice again, then pinned them together. If you could hear my thoughts right now, it's like,
keep the gathers even, don't break the thread. There is no such thing as too many pins, don't break the thread. Keep an eye on the vents, don't break the thread.
I'm not really sure which one of these was most important. I sewed the skirt to the bodice with a zigzag stitch, and then it was time for the ultimate test. Oh yeah, 10 out of 10, two skirts was the best idea. Next, my party dress needed a belt, so I got out my dress form and cut a piece of white cloth about as wide as 2 cupcakes and as long as I could possibly make it. Wait, can I do this while holding a cat? That sounds like a challenge for a different day. With the full use of both my hands, I fit my fabric to the dress form, marking every place I wanted to put a seam to make it lay as flat as possible around my waist. I ended up marking out 4 pieces, which seemed like enough. I cut each piece apart, leaving enough extra to sew them together. And I cut out 3 more copies of each piece. At the end, I had 16 little white hourglasses and squares that looked a little like Arkansas, and that was just, it was too many. So I pinned them together into 2 long symmetrical pieces. Then I ran them through my sewing machine. I ran them through my sewing machine 14 times. Sorry. Plain belts are cool, but party dresses are all about the decoration, so I drew a thick pizza slice that fit the front of the belt and cut it out of this orange fabric. Then I pinned it in place and decided to hand stitch it on. Why? For precision, to hide the seam better, and absolutely because I was too lazy to rethread my sewing machine just for this piece. I sort of paid for it by getting stuck under my cat. Again. but just tell me this doesn't look worth it. I took both pieces of the belt, pinned them right sides together, and sewed the top and bottom edges. This made the wrinkliest sleeve ever. I turned it inside out, tucked the ends inside, and sewed around all the edges, just to make them really crisp and party ready. All right, everyone, best guess. What is this? World's tiniest toboggan? I wish. It's a button foot. I used it to put 7 buttonholes on either end of the belt, smooth as butter. Except for that one buttonhole that I edited out. We won't talk about that. I cut open every hole with a seam ripper, and because no party dress is complete without ribbon, I threaded the belt like a corset and tied it with a big bow. You would think by this point that I would know better than to let Mr. Meows climb into my lap, but no. But you know, I can reach this, and the scissors are still here, so I'll just try to work. But we'll skip forward and deal with this later. The party dress was complete, but now I needed party shoes. I started with these, which I wore to a wedding once, but I kind of ruined them when I stepped in some cherries, so they're perfect for turning into jester boots. I drew a pattern based off the shoe, then just added whatever shapes I thought I needed. I've never done this before, so if this looks like a mess, it is, but it's a mess that I understand. Here, let me see if I can make it clearer for you. Nope, now I just drew a snowman. Very helpful. I took the back panels off what was left of the second dress, and it looked like they would be the perfect size to cover my foot. Foot? 1 foot. Why does that sound wrong? I cut out 2 shoe pieces, one for either side of my foot, did a really bad job of following the pattern actually, and guys, I have 2 feet. I need 4 pieces. Hey, how do you think past Gwen is doing? Well, crikey, that massive beast still has her pinned? Wow, it looks right comfy though. What am I gonna do about my other foot? I took the sleeves off the second dress and managed to eke out just enough to get 2 more pieces for the other shoe. I took these 2 little white scraps, they're about 3 times as long as my nose, and I cut them into pointless pizza slices. Not that any pizza is pointless. Then I pinned them between the toes of the big red pieces. I sewed them together and then wrapped these boot covers all the way around my shoes to make sure they would fit. Then I cut off the extra bits and sewed up the backs. I cut 4 pieces of white fabric for the lining, matching what I had so far, but I didn't bother to cut out the toes. I double-checked that I cut out the right number of pieces and, 3. There's only 3 here. Well, let's check back in with Past Gwen while I cut out 1 more. In a bold plan to free herself, Past Gwen is attempting to convince this gorgeous snow leopard to leave her alone by dressing him in a red shirt. He moves! And she misses her chance to escape by a very narrow margin. Better luck next time, mate. I sewed up the backs of the linings, then attached them to the outside pieces across the top.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Then pinned and sewed up the toes, leaving a little gap right at the points. Finally, I pinned the bottom edge up with the lining tucked inside and sewed all around the bottom. For my next trick, I took these 2 slices of American cheese and cut them into rough circles, voila, and then gathered them into cute little Miss Muffet hats. Do not attempt this with actual cheese. Then I pretended they were teeny tiny clown cars and crammed in as much cotton stuffing as I possibly could. I pulled the thread tight, tied it off, and then I had these cute little cheese balls.
You're a cute little cheese ball.
I am a cute little cheese ball. I turned my shoe covers inside out and fit the cheese balls right up inside the toe as far as they would go, with the tail sticking up through the gap I left earlier. I secured them with a few quick stitches right through the middle of the tail and flipped it right side out again. Almost done. The only thing this party is missing is a little hot glue. I wrapped the covers around my shoes and glued them around the edges just above the soles. I should point out that I do still wear these shoes, like on lazy days and to run errands, maybe pick up some groceries, so I might be wearing clown shoes to get the mail from now on. Usually I would stick hot glue in the freezer to help it set faster, but that seems weird with shoes, so instead I'll do my magic glue cooling dance. Finally, I only had 1 thing left to do. I just shoved a big ball of cotton into the toes of my shoes because I thought they were too floppy on their own, and now I'm done. Grand reveal in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I mean, 1. Hey, you're out of time. Ta-da! And of course, you're all invited to this party. Even past Gwen, but I don't know if she's gonna make it. Trapped beneath this cat, locked away where we won't be. Wait, nope, I'm free!
Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button. And while you're at it, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss a single time we upload. Hopefully you've already seen our Blood and Tears remix where I wore this costume, but if you didn't, you can check it out right there. And if you want to see some other over-the-top costumes that I've worked on, they're over here. Beard salute!